issue every check for every penny the state spends.
You know, Tom just brought up a great point. The benefits you're going to see downstream, for example, what he just mentioned in Texas, if somehow, somewhere in the Texas website was the total of all the cars in Texas and how much they cost, you would see some free enterprise company, maybe Enterprise, come in and say, we can do a much better deal. And we've seen that in some of the states already where the private sector's come in and said on printing or in something else, you're killing yourself.
You know, the other thing that you can also do, and I think could be an interesting tool, is to use social media to expand the footprint of the information that you're providing to your citizens. So if you find an egregious expenditure, get it out there on a social media site, and then it'll become viral. So put it out on Twitter, get it out on Facebook. Use some of those tools that are out there that hit a group of people that may not just automatically come into the government portal and say, hey, I want this information. But boy, if it lands on their desk, they're going to be furious and they're going to do something about it. And so that I would just encourage you to use those tools in a way that can expand the knowledge of what goes on in government spending, just so we can get rid of some of the waste and some of the outrageous expenditures that folks are really frustrated with right now.
Sandra.
Thank you. Just adding to that point, I think what is also important is and that is some of the bills that were passed have done that. I don't know that all agencies have followed through with it, but it would be a good idea to require that every state agency on their front page link to the transparency portal. And the other thing is also some of the websites are better than others in that regard. Give it a catchy name and make the URL something that people will remember. mapyourtaxes.mo.gov is something that you can remember. But if you have something that says transparency.xls/SSL, nobody's going to remember that. So those are two other points that I think, in addition to using social media and spreading the word, will help drive traffic. And the public is interested. We know that. They might not spend as much time on the website. But for example, Missouri was one of the first websites that went up, and within a couple months they had several million hits on that website. So the interest is there, and again, it's not so much about everybody spending the time on the website, but having the availability.
Okay, one more. I guess we have time for one more question. Two more questions.
I've got a question. Thank you. This could open up to any of the panelists, but can one of you let me know or let the audience know how you can work with a state think tank to either get the legislation passed or to get traction or to, blog about it or throw it up on YouTube?
Well, I would certainly be happy to address that because initially in bringing my bill forward, I did work with Amy Oliver with the Independence Institute, which is a think tank in Colorado. And they actually had a model of a bill, and we tweaked it a little bit and changed a few things, but it does do a lot of the things that you're describing already, with expenditures and revenues being supposed to be put online, and it is supposed to be searchable, and a number of these other things that we've discussed too, with the changing of the data. We made ours so that it's every 5 days rather than every day, just to make departments feel a little bit better in case somebody's out of town. We don't want somebody to be in violation of the law. So I'm sure there have got to be a number of think tanks that are that have models already, and in addition, a number of the think tanks, they work together as well. And so we worked in conjunction with not only the think tanks, they worked with people to try to get emails sent to the legislators to encourage them to vote at every point and juncture within the committee hearings. And in addition, we just, there were also some arms with blogs and other news media sources that, for instance, like Face the State in Colorado is a great conservative voice. So they reported on this constantly. And so there are a number of organizations like that that I think do work together on that. I don't know if you have a comment about that.
Many of the state-based think tanks actually have a full-time employee dedicated just to transparency. In my office, it's the very talented Kink Campaign Piercy. Her entire job is to help to pass transparency at the state and local level. She can testify, she goes to conferences, she knows the latest and greatest. Really, we are your partners, helping with the legislation, with our own efforts. We live and breathe this stuff. We love this stuff. It's all over our blogs, and we're happy to help.
The think tanks can also do letters to the editor, meet with editorial boards, and get more support out like that. And again, they'd be glad to work with you. I want to thank the State Policy Network for sponsoring this workshop. We appreciate that. And we appreciate you coming. Now, one of the other things, the Tax and Fiscal Policy Task Force will have a toolkit available for you in January. That's for you, I mean the legislative part. In terms of budget ideas. And what we're trying to do is to move from traditional budgets where you look at, here's our current spending, we're going to add caseload increase, we're going to add inflation, this is the new budget, to look at an outcome model. So we're going to have some ideas for you on looking at core governing strategies, nonpartisan revenue forecasts, spending limits, having agency mission statements, and that's shocking when you mention that in some states, actually have a mission statement, having some real outcome performance measures, having agency priorities by activity, purchase strategies, i.e. if it's in the yellow book, put it up for competitive bid, budget and tax transparency, which does both, performance audits, and then some specific issues that some legislators don't even want to consider, pensions, the unfunded liability, the federal stimulus, and competitive bidding. But again, I thank you all for coming today. The next workshop starts in a few minutes, and it's the dynamics of broadband investments, and it's in this room, right? It starts at 11:05? Okay, thank you very much.